Kia ora, good evening. Police are now enforcing the new 4 km/h speed tolerance. From yesterday, the 1st of December until the 31st of January, police will be fining any motorist caught driving more than 4 km/h over the speed limit. Previously, the limit has been enforced from Christmas until 3 January on other public holidays and long weekends. A tolerance of 9 km/h over the limit applies the rest of the year. Police Minister Anne Tolley says the extension is about making holiday driving safer and is not motivated by revenue gathering. Police don't get the revenue from that, so there's nothing for them to gain. It goes straight into the consolidated fund, she says. She says what police are absolutely focused on is making our roads safer and reducing the number of families who lose a loved one. The Burt Munro Challenge is over for another year. The event attracted many enthusiasts from all over New Zealand, and the weather even played its part. I spoke to Southland Motorcycle Club President Craig Hyde earlier today.
2013 event's very, very good. All in all organisers are very happy with the event and how everything's run. And I don't really think I've got any gripes from anybody, which is really good.
You would have been all over the show, all over the weekend.
You do a few miles for the weekend, bouncing from one place to another, whether it be an event or the rally site or whatever, and you try to get out and meet as many people as possible as well.
And you'll be picking up on some of the events. Let's talk about the hill climb. That was the kick-off, really. How did that go, and were there any surprise results?
Hill climb was really good. It was good weather, actually. Not too much wind and a bit of sunshine. We have record numbers in most events for riders this year, so that was really good. Surprise was Ryan Hampton. He did a best time last year of 44 seconds up the hill. He was hoping to beat it, and he brought it down to 42 seconds. So to drop 2 seconds on your time is a huge achievement.
He's setting targets for himself, isn't he, for next year? Because this is the 4th year he's done it, isn't it?
Yes, it is. Yep. Yeah, and he does. Well, all riders are doing, I suppose, do set targets for themselves.
Now, the Supercross that night, it wasn't actually a Burt Munro event, but it was tied in.
Yes, we cross-promoted it because it drew a few Australian riders they brought over, and it also brings a few of the New Zealand teams down too. So we had a few cross entries for the beach and for Wyndham and Teretonga as well, so that was great.
And you'd definitely look at doing that again if that was possible, to include it almost in the program?
Yeah, we'd love to do that again. And for themselves, their gate as well, the amount of people in there watching that was fantastic. And I've had people talking about that event all over the weekend.
Okay, the beach racing, was a bit apprehensive about the weather. You did have a backup track, but it wasn't required.
No, it wasn't required. We were lucky with the wind actually, because it was a northerly, so it was coming down the beach. Usually it's a westerly, which can make it more dangerous at high speed. So turned a westerly about 10 minutes at the end of the last race, and so we finished quite nicely.
Sprint racing and speedway always attract good crowds, both events.
Yeah, they do. Teretonga, it was a wee bit damp in the morning. They got through their practices. Most of it was gone by 11. Just the odd scattered shower after that, but the crowd was good in the afternoon. And speedway was the same. It was a bit cold, but they got no rain for the whole event. I think it hailed just slightly for about 10 minutes after the event had finished.
And of course, Wyndham yesterday, that's a real family day, isn't it? People like to get out with their families and watch some good street racing.
Yes, it is. You see, and probably at all events, you see all ages at every event, which is really good. Yesterday, again, no rain. Wyndham have never ever had rain in the 8 years we've run it, which is fantastic. It wasn't overly warm, but the sun was out every now and again. I have got a slight sunburn on my face, which is good to see.
Now, for you, there's no rest, is there, for you? You're wrapping things up and also looking forward to next year.
Yeah, we do a debrief, which will be in about a week's time. But this week is just running around and tying up a few loose ends. It's easy to do now while it's fresh in your mind rather than leaving it until the start of next year.
Well, you've been involved right from the beginning. Has it become easier organising this event as time's gone by?
Yes, I think it has. We kind of capped things 2 or 3 years ago and tried to do what we do better. I think we got a bit widespread, like you do in every event. You get a wee bit, I don't know, just we'll take a few more things on. So we've got a really good crew now that I think most people will be happy to stay again for next year. And with that crew, we all work well together.
And an enormous injection of cash also for the region. We can't go without mentioning that.
No, that's right. We get some great funding through the council and the LRT Foundation and other places. But for the town itself, it's a huge weekend. The winner is the town out of the whole weekend. Well, the whole province, I should say.
And it certainly was a great weekend. I look forward to the 2014 edition. It's been 1 year since the introduction of the Bus Smart service by the Invercargill City Council, and today the service was celebrated with a special treat. Tomorrow, all Bus Smart journeys will be free around the city to celebrate the anniversary. The Council's Senior Traffic Management Officer, Eddie Cook, says the operating cost of the old service was $1.35 million annually, and the new service now costs $890,000, which is a considerable saving to ratepayers. Mr Cook says the fare revenue was up about $110,000 on the previous year, and as a result the old service, which was previously subsidised 86 cents for every dollar of cost, was now only subsidised by 65 cents for every dollar. The Windsor Comet has proved to be the most utilised of the 4 Bus Smart routes, with the Waikiwi link the least favoured. Most New Zealanders think there should be compulsory third-party insurance on all vehicles registered for road use. CanStar Blue surveyed 1,800 people, of which 95% said that New Zealand should ensure that all drivers are covered should an accident occur. CanStar New Zealand General Manager Derek Bonar says there is strong and ongoing support from consumers for introducing compulsory insurance for drivers. Critics of compulsory insurance, however, say that there will be people who refuse to insure because of their financial position or previous driving convictions. Also highlighted is the fact that 9% of cars on New Zealand roads are unwarranted, despite it being a legal requirement. Stay with us. Just ahead, MP for Invercargill Eric Roy on his year and the key issue that confronted his electorate in 2013, the future of the Tiwai Point aluminium smelter. Welcome back to South Today News. MP for Invercargill Eric Roy is reflective of a busy year for the region and city, but there is one issue that had his absolute attention: the future of the Tiwai smelter. Mr Roy was accused by opponents of not speaking up for his electorate's interests. He says, however, that he acted as an intermediary between the parties, opting not to speak out publicly until the issue was resolved. The National MP has also confirmed that at this stage he will be pursuing his party's nomination for the electorate seat of Invercargill for the 6th time since 1996.
Well, the biggest local issue, of course, was the smelter and the concern about what actually would happen with that. And so that cloud has been lifted, and it's been lifted at a time when certainly world environment's starting to improve, so there looks like to be a bit of life left in aluminium, as well as getting us bridging to that point.
What were you doing in Wellington? What could you say to help the cause?
Yeah, well, I had a very interesting role, and the position I put myself in was to be the confidant of the 3 different parties between the government, Meridian and the smelter, and I had them all on fast dial and made sure they were talking to each other and we were getting clear messages going. So I took a deliberately low profile publicly so I'd have their confidence, and so I was just a small part, probably quite an important part, but a small part of what was getting in place some security for the next 3 years. And as I say, at the time, Rio Tinto said we want out of our share, so we were to be very careful we just didn't put some government money onto their balance sheet. There were a lot of issues to be worked through, and I'm quite sure that we got the best possible outcome.
At what point were you sure that the smelter would be saved, and for at least the short term anyway?
When Bill English said we'll do it, not till then. Yeah, so it was a lot of work, but look, the cloud has been lifted, and thinking about what would have happened had it not gone ahead just doesn't bear any time reflecting on, because it would have been so dire for Invercargill. Thousands of dollars off everybody's house value, unemployed. It would have been just an absolute shock.
What were constituents saying to you?
Oh, well, all the things I've just said. We've got to fix this. And I think that's, in a way, it's part of the pragmatic John Key approach. Is that he'll wade in and do and negotiate a deal. And that's the strength he kind of brings, and we saw it with the Hobbit movies. We've seen it in 1 or 2 things that he's climbed into the convention centre in Auckland, and not everybody agrees, But I think the key thing with Prime Minister John Key is he wants to make the boat go faster, and he's prepared to do the deals to make that happen.
And you'll be quite happy, as you just said at the beginning there, that there is demand for aluminium again and things. Do you think we're going to hold on to it, is what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, well, certainly I think there's no reason why we shouldn't. The two things going to the smelter, the two big things internationally, it's very clean aluminium. It's smelted with power made from hydroelectric, the cleanest form of aluminium. It's also got some very high grade, highest grade in the world. Those are things that give it a little niche in the world market. Having said that, there's still a huge stockpile of aluminium in warehouses around the world, probably around 5 million tonnes at the moment, and that has to be absorbed. So we actually need the world economy to come right. And that signs are that that's starting to happen. So I'm quite encouraged. By the time that 3-year contract is up, I'm sure there'll be a totally different environment for aluminium.
And for you, let's talk about that by-election at the weekend. Were you surprised by that result in Christchurch?
Not really. I think Christchurch East is the strongest Labour seat in the country, certain in time, length that it's been held and the sort of majority that it has. So two things that I kind of predicted. Labour would hold it quite handily and there'd be a low turnout, and both those things happened.
Okay, the year is almost over. What's big next year for you as MP for Invercargill? Of course, the election's big, isn't it? You will be going for that nomination.
Oh, that's my plans at this stage. But look, I think the big thing is we've just now got to bring the boat home. A lot of New Zealanders have spent some time in reasonable hardship, and wages have been held. We've been able to give a bit of tax relief, and we've said all along that we need to have the government's books back into shape by 14-15. It's pretty clear we're now headed on a track to do that, and people want some reward for that. And we're seeing that with some increase in the population in the south, a bit of increase in wages. We're now growing faster than Australia and New Zealand. We've got to bring that stuff home. Otherwise, we'll be turkeys at the election next year, and we know and understand that. There's been a tolerance. We now got to continue and just bring that boat home and deliver to the people.
A significant local event happened recently with the signing of that sister city relationship with the Chinese city of 5.6 million people. Do you think that that's going to play? Will we see the results next year or into the next couple of years?
I think we're just seeing an ongoing increase in China as our market. I kind of look at it like this. If you look at New Zealand's history of about 200 years of European settlement, we've benefited from an association with Europe and principally Britain, then largely with America. Where's the compass pointing? It's Asia, and China now is the very strong economy that's going to drive the world. And so it's good that Invercargill has a good relationship with a big city. It's good that we're involved in building bridges, building connections, just making China aware of what Southland has. And the demand is incredible. The scary part is how we're going to manage it.
And that's all we have time for from the news team. Sports is up next. Have a great evening. We'll join you again tomorrow.